Okay, this is the preliminary budget hearing for the town of Woodbridge for the fiscal year 2013-2014. At the present time, First Selectman Ed Shee would like to make some remarks, followed by Tony Genovese.
All right, well, good evening, everyone. Thank you, Matt. Welcome to the budget hearing meeting. You can see on the screen we have certain budget objectives for upcoming fiscal year. First of which is to minimize potential tax increases to our residents. Second is to implement efficiency and effectiveness throughout the town government. And the third is to maintain the level of services provided to town residents and address infrastructure needs of the community, particularly town roads. Just want to review some of the accomplishments during 2013. As most of you know, we've extended the natural gas pipeline to the center of Woodbridge at no cost to taxpayers to serve Amity High School and the buildings in the town center. We completed the design and awarded a bid to PDS Construction for construction of the new Public Works Garage. The groundbreaking will be a week from the next Tuesday, April 30th, 2013 at 1 p.m. at the site. All of you were invited to attend. And for some of you, you will remember that the Public Works Garage, or a new Public Works Garage, was first discussed in the 1987 bond issue when Russ Stoddard was our first selectman. We completed installation of sidewalks down Amity Road from Bradley Road to Lucy Street. We've worked with Billy Casper Golf to maintain and manage golf, pool, tennis courts, and the clubhouse at the Country Club of Woodbridge. We've received funding of $55,000 from the state of Connecticut to develop a plan for a microgrid in the town center. Microgrid will be basically a backup system for all the town buildings in the center, as well as Amity High School. We have received $55,000 from the state of Connecticut to fund the completion of the town's application for this microgrid. Woodbridge was one of 2 towns designated by UI for a microgrid, the other being Stratford. And we are in competition now, and there are 3 categories of competition for this: large, small, and medium towns. We're told that there will be an award made to each town in that classification. And Woodbridge is the only small town other than Wyndham, which has a relatively small project. So we're hopeful for that. We've completed design, and the construction is to begin of the new Merritt Avenue Bridge in either June or July. We've completed the design of additional sidewalk installation to complete Lucy Street and up Litchfield Turnpike in the business district. We will be having a public information session on those sidewalks in either May or June to notify the residents who will be affected by those new sidewalks. We've charged the Beecher Road School Building Committee to develop a phased approach to heating, ventilation, air conditioning, roof, window lighting, and security improvements to the Beecher Road School. We anticipate a fall referendum on that project, and the project will probably take 2 years to complete. It'll be phased, and we anticipate the construction to begin in 2015. And as far as financial planning goes, the first payment on principal of that project will take place in 2017 when our Beecher Road School debt service ends. We're going to continue to work with the Economic Development Commission for the promotion and development of the business district. We have an ongoing 5-year plan for road improvements for the more than 80 miles of roads in Woodbridge, and we appropriating $720,000 for fiscal year 14. Again, we've received the Government Finance Officers Association Award for budget and annual financial audit. We've completed the realignment of the Beecher Road School North Traffic Circle with state grant funds. We've renovated the men's and women's locker rooms at the Beecher Pool, and we've replaced the carpeting at the library. Looking forward to 2014, we look to continue to work with Billy Casper Golf in the 2nd year of our contract with them, evaluate the performance of the golf course, and continue discussion concerning the long-term use of the country club. We'll be planning to develop a consensus for approval of improvements to the Beecher Road school infrastructure in terms of that referendum that I previously mentioned. We will complete the interior restoration of the former fire station and implement a plan for use by town residents. We will continue implementation of town-wide energy efficiency programs. And we plan, the Board of Selectmen plans to meet with representatives of the Southern Connecticut Gas Company in June, at our June meeting, for further extension of the gas line into Woodbridge. We plan to complete the installation of the sidewalks in the business districts, as I previously described. We'll complete the construction of the new Merritt Avenue Bridge. We'll complete the design and begin removal of the Ponley Dam to alleviate flooding on the West River. We'll try to make greater use of Channel 79 to cover additional board and commission meetings. We'll aggressively pursue grant opportunities to reduce taxpayer burden. And over the past 7 years, Woodbridge has received $2.7 million in state and federal grants. We'll make efforts to expand cooperative purchasing with the BOA district and other governmental agencies. So that's a background of what's happened and what we hope will happen. And I'll turn it over to Tony Genovese, our Director of Operations and Finance, for an overview of the budget.
Thank you very much. The preliminary budget, as voted on by the Board of Finance, is a proposed mill rate of 34.22, has in the document in front of you. The current mill rate for 2013 is 33.73. That's a 0.49 mil increase, or 1.45%. Originally, the Board of Selectmen received increases from departments that would have resulted in a 6% mill rate increase, and that was in January of this year. And through a line-by-line review of the operating budget and a item-by-item review of the capital budget, the mill rate increase is 1.45% as presented. I wanted to just give you a snapshot of where our revenues come from. The majority of our revenues are from property taxes, as you can see by the chart, which is 90.86%. And that's a majority of our revenue base. We do get about 4.76% from department charges, which is anything from transfer station fees to building permit revenue to town clerk fees and that sort of thing. That's 4.76%. Intergovernmental revenues at 2.48%. Those are state grants, formulary grants that we receive for education cost sharing or town road aid. Those are the two big ones that we receive, along with some pilot grants. And finally, there's an other revenue category. That is where the appropriation from fund balance is. And in this year, we have a surplus from Amity from the prior year that we have in our budget. So those are some of the categories that we have. Non-tax revenue is simply the money we budget for delinquent tax payments and interest from delinquent tax payments. So some highlights for you. The property tax levy, which is the amount of taxes in total that needs to be collected, is $783,875, which represents a 1.93%. That is not what you will see as an increase in your tax bill, but rather that's the amount of taxes that need to be collected. That is then distributed based on the grand list, which then results in a 1.45% increase. So that I thought it was important to highlight that information. The state grant revenue budget remains virtually the same as last year. There are no budget increases in state revenue this year. We have yet to hear any good news on that front, so the state revenue is pretty much flat for this year. The same goes for department revenues. There's a slight decrease of 0.65%, also virtually unchanged, excuse me, from the prior year. And also interest income remains the same as last year, about $50,000. We're very restricted on what we can invest in, so we do not get very large returns there. There's no medical reserve fund this year. We had some funds from a closed medical reserve that was appropriated the past 3 years to previously offset other post-employment benefits. Last year the town used $68,000 and depleted that reserve, so there is no reserve this year for that. However, this year we have an Amity surplus from 2012 of $102,516, which is proposed in this budget to be used to reduce taxes for the following year. Finally, the grand list increases a little under $6 million, or 0.48% from the prior year. So those are some of the main revenue highlights in the budget. For expenditures, we have a similar chart, and the Amity and the Woodbridge Board of Education comprise roughly 28% each of our budget, and those are the largest portions of our budget. You'll see some of our other departments there. And this is a similar chart in the budget book that you can see that has public safety, 88.96%, which is police, fire, EMS, and facilities at 5.47%, which is public works, transfer station, building maintenance, those types of departments. So this is just a snapshot of where our general fund expenditures go. And some highlights for you. Woodbridge Board of Education budget remains unchanged from the prior year at $12,817,998. The salary accounts support a cost of living increase to the town employees of 2%. Debt service is reduced by a little under $200,000 due to the pay down of debt. So that is a reduction in our debt service budget for the upcoming year. We do have a public works facility, as you all know, that's in process, and that debt will most likely hit the year after. So for this year, we have a reduction in our debt. There's an addition of $42,000 from the City of Derby, reducing the Woodbridge portion of the animal control operations. The contingency contains $200,000 from unplanned or unanticipated expenditures, which is an account that's monitored closely by the Board of Finance. And finally, the town of Woodbridge portion of the Amity School budget is $582,857 increase from the prior year. So those are some of our expenditure highlights for you to consider as you move forward with our budget. In addition to our operating budget, our document also contains a 6-year capital plan, and I just wanted to highlight some of that for you. There are two types of projects. There are pay-as-you-go projects, which are projects that are funded in the operating budget through current tax dollars. So there are some examples, which is road reconstruction, feature technology for $95,000, public works truck replacement, $178,000, and police vehicle replacements. So these are items that are funded as we go, and we do not incur debt for these. There are also long-range planning projects, or projects that would most likely incur debt once approved. These are not yet approved, but in the planning process. And that includes the Beecher Road School upgrade, which was previously mentioned, open space, and a police building upgrade. Since the printing of this budget, we're always constantly trying to get the most accurate figures we can. And there are two items that have come up, which I want to bring to your attention. First is health insurance savings through our bidding process and with our health insurance advisor. We have finalized that information, and we will achieve a savings for this budget of an additional $40,000. So these are items that the Board of Finance will be reviewing at the conclusion of this meeting for possible action. The other is an additional reduction in Amity of $66,107. So those are the two items that have come up since the printing of the budget. So with those possible reductions, which the Board of Finance will review, the mill rate will drop to 34.14 or 1.22% increase over the prior year of 33.73. I just wanted to make some final comments before we move to the next phase of questions. The first is that the largest single increase in this year's budget is by far the Amity increase. And if you look at the information based on the 34.14 mill rate, the budget would actually be, mill rate would actually be reduced by 0.06% without that figure. Just illustrates the how large that particular increase is to the budget based on all the other increases and decreases. Second, it was worth restating that the process began with a possible 6% increase, and so there was a lot of work done by both boards of selection to get to this point. And finally, the Board of Finance will meet after this hearing to vote on a recommended budget for the annual town meeting. So for those of you who are interested. So those are, that's my presentation.
Okay, thank you, Ed and Tony. I'd just like to make one comment on the Amity item. I'm the liaison to the Amity Finance Committee. For the past 2 years, Amity's increase has been below 1%. Last year was 0.47%, and the year before that was less. Actually, last year, our percentage of our dollars spent on Amity were less. The reason for the increase this year is Amity's budget had to go up. After 2 lean years, Dr. Brady included in that budget items which he felt had been put aside and not considered that needed to be, such as upgrades in technology, etc. And also, according to Dr. Brady, the number of students coming from private schools to Amity has increased dramatically. He cited, for example, Ezra. They've got more students from Ezra coming into Amity this year than ever before. And I think that speaks to what you hear about the Amity school system. It's a wonderful school system, and people are opting to not pay private school tuition and to send their kids to Amity. So those are the reasons. And again, the Amity budget is not something we control or can really go over tonight. There's a separate referendum for the Amity budget. I'm not quite sure the date, but it's May 8th? Okay, there's a separate referendum where you'll vote for the Amity budget here or whatever. And I'm sure there'll also be a hearing that you can attend if you'd like, where the budget will be discussed. And I just wanted to bring that up because I do attend the Amity meetings. Okay, as we always have, what we're going to do is go down the expenditure side of the budget, department by department. If you're using the blue sheet, it's the one with all the departments listed. I don't know what page it is. Looks like it's the 3rd page in. Or if you're using the detail book with all the line items covered, it's page 43. Of course, inside this document are all the line items. So if you have a question about a budget in particular, about a line item in particular, we have with us representatives from all the various boards and commissions, and of course we have members of the Board of Finance, Board of Selectmen who can answer your questions. I only ask that you please come to the microphone and respect let everybody have a chance to come to the microphone. Identify yourself and your address, and we'll do the best we can to answer your questions. So with that, we'll start with the first department, which is the Board of Selectmen. And the Board of Finance have proposed a budget of $436,599. Again, if we go to a department and there's a question later on, we can go back to that department. But if you have a particular question on that, you can come forward. Next, yes, Mike.
Michael Luther, Norfolk Road. Will you speak to that part of the Board of Selectmen budget that is legal expenses? Is that part of this increase?
Actually, legal fees are flat, and general professional service, professional town council is also flat. There is no increase. Okay, the pro report, 12,500, which is, of course, contractual to the state of Connecticut. Town clerk, 200,658. And before I go much further, I'd certainly like to thank our boards and commissions and departments for putting together, I consider to be extremely responsible budgets. If you back out the salary items that are in every budget, the discretionary spending, which is minimal, has been extremely carefully looked at. And I think the reason the taxes this low this year and certainly the increase, Tony said it's actually, for town departments, it's a decrease. And I think the reason for that is that our departments, knowing the situation and the time frame, have come through what I consider probably the third year of extremely responsible budget. So I just think they're going to help. Is there any questions on town clerk? Registrar of voters, 48,616. Government access television, 20,501. General administration, 261,416. And a big part of that is our insurance in that budget. Information systems, which basically is the department that takes care of all our computer systems, et cetera. 97,873. The Finance Department, 313,286. The Tax Collector's Office, which continues to have an incredibly high rate of collection, 125,928. The Tax Assessor, 154,152. The Board of Tax Review, 2,200. Board of Finance, biggest part of that is our contingency fund, 245,100. Town planning and zoning, 47,015. Zoning Board of Appeals, $7,010. The Center, of course, the building we're standing in, all the expenses related to that, $103,725. Expenses related to the former fire station, which is currently under renovation. At some point, I guess we're going to be, what's going on with that. So that's 12,800, and we're just totally going to keep that total going. Country Club of Woodbridge, 1,448,625. Just to point out, the revenue part of that is on the other side of the budget, so this is pretty much all set by revenue. It's not just expenses that have to be. Police Department, 2,832,606. Fire Division, 666,304. Medical services, which is contractual with the MR, or annual providers, and there's a revenue associated with this also, $290,003. District animal control, this is our portion of district animal control. And we began to see revenue from 30 Okay, so it's district animal control is 115,319. Building department, 169,496. Public Works, 1,255,252. Waste Management, 555,142, which of course is the expenses related to the transfer station. Remediation, which is the result of the gasoline spill many years ago, and as you can see, it's consistently going down, and it will probably continue to go down as testing is clean, 5,500. Building maintenance, which is the maintenance for most of the town buildings in a separate department, 427,765. Human Services, 423,725. Recreation Department, 525,778. Again, another department that has significant revenue on the other side. Pool and gym expense, 92,549. Parks Department, again, takes care of all our walking trails, lawns around town, ball fields, etc. 246,256. Thomas Darling House, 9,813. The library, 772,622. The Conservation Commission, 2,000. The Inland Wetlands Commission, 53,655. Employee fringe benefits, $3,932,514. Debt service, $2,454,861. The Woodbridge Board of Education, $12,817,998. Yes.
Phil Rothfeld, 50 North Racebrook Road. We always move along quite quickly to this point, and this year I won't slow it down too much because it's hard to complain when there's no increase. But I just, a couple of questions just so I'll more fully understand the budget. I'm looking at a printout I had from last year, and it was staff count since I came to Woodbridge, which since Dr. Stella came to Woodbridge, it was from one of his presentations. And there may be a more current one, but I wasn't able to locate it. So I just wonder if you could update me on some staff counts. Are we, last year we were at 5 administrators. Are we still at 5? Okay. Maybe after I ask my question, someone could comment. A couple of years ago, we did talk about the possibility of going to 4 administrators. So just refresh my mind why we're still at 5 administrators. And then last year we were at 70.5 certified positions. Do you know where that stands now? Are we at the same? That stayed the same, stable? Okay, thank you. And how about on enrollment? Last year we talked about, I had looked at Woodbridge Public Schools enrollment projected to 2021, a report by Dr. Crowden. We talked about that a little bit. I think last year we're at around 730. Where do we stand going forward? So we're up 755. And what about the projection where that report thought the projection was that we were going to decline to 2016 when it would start rising again? Do you have any current projections for enrollment?
We did a very comprehensive presentation in our budget presentation. It's on the website.
Okay, I'll check.
Yeah, that compared the projections each year and how we put base the projections, and that we have an increase of children according to the projections.
So
it's very detailed, and I'm glad to work with them.
Okay, thanks, Dr. Sloan. Okay, so that's basically it. So just, I guess we just left with the question about the administrative positions. Thanks.
Steve Fleischman, I'm the Vice Chair of the Board, Chair of the Finance Committee of the Board of Ed. Your question about administrators, we did make some changes to the way administrators are set up. But when you're looking at our district compared to other districts, we had 2 co-principals, and due to some of the projections in declining enrollment, we thought we would move to a principal-assistant principal model in an effort to plan for the future. However, if you look at those projections that were done every year, we've updated, and every year we've actually increased the number of students at Beecher. So on an administrator-to-student basis, we are well in line with what most school districts, if you look at most elementary schools throughout the state, average enrollment is about 350 to 400 kids. So we really are essentially the size of almost 2 elementary schools. So the number of administrators we're talking about, 2, which are a principal, assistant principal, a business manager, a superintendent, and then a head of special ed services. And really at this point, because of the size of the school and the services that we provide, and we are a district, we're at minimum size for administration. Thanks.
Ansonia Road. I have just one quick question. What is the enrollment to date of the Beecher Road School? Is it that figure like 755 this year? Thank you.
And actually, that's higher than what it was.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions on the Woodbridge Board? Okay, Amity Regional School District, $13,053,208. Again, if you'd like to hear details on it, you'd have to look it up there, but there will be a public hearing equal to this on that if there are questions. It's usually not attended by anybody, but if you really have any questions, that's the meeting to go to. The last line of the expenditure side of the budget is transfers from general fund, which is capital improvements. And the total to this budget is $1,251,825. Okay, are there any other questions? No. Okay. Yes.
This isn't really specifically about the budget, but I'm going to ask something. I was looking at the police department, and just wanted to ask. In the booklet here, it has performance indicators, and it seems like all the performance indicators are motor vehicle related: DUI, motor vehicle accidents, deterrent radar runs, traffic enforcement. I wonder if at some point the police department could give the town some other indicators. You know, I'd like to know something about crime in town, burglaries, what's being solved. And then I would point, I've been in town for about 35 years, and a long time ago, probably 30 years or so ago, the police department used to send out little flyers, and they would tell you what's going on in the town where crime was taking place, what was going on. And sometimes it gave you a feeling of security, and sometimes it made you worry that there were break-ins in your neighborhood, and you'd really be alert to, if anything strange was happening, and you'd pick up the phone and call the police department. I remember one instance back a long time ago when, because of these bulletins, my wife was alert and someone came to our door soliciting, and she thought it was a little strange and called the police department, and it led to an arrest in a string of burglaries. And I just think it would be helpful if we really knew what was going on in town. Is there any way to find this out other than the local newspaper, or seeing, where People magazine rates us as far as crime goes? I'd like to just be able to wonder if the police department could just give more information on a regular basis.
Representatives are in the panel. You want to say anything, Ray?
Ray Stewart, Deputy Chief of Police. We could do that. I mean, we could put together a newsletter that's beneficial to the town and residents. Taking up those areas that you mentioned.
Yeah, sounds very helpful. And I can't remember if it was monthly, probably not monthly, maybe it was quarterly, and we get something like 4 times a year, and you see the 3 robberies like right in my neighborhood. And I think back then it led us to get an alarm system. And probably now everyone has an alarm system, but I think people in town would like to know what's happening.
No, absolutely. There's no problem with that at all. If we give those figures to the Board of Police Commissioners on a monthly
And I
basis.
think if I called up, you'd probably tell me. You don't want to have hundreds or thousands of people calling in and saying what's going on around town.
No, very good.
Alden Hines of Penn Barberry Lane. And actually, I want to follow up on that discussion because a couple of years ago, I was concerned about press releases from the police department and how they're being distributed. And I did speak with the police commission, and they started putting them up on the website. I'm very thankful for that. I hope they continue to do it, and I hope people visit the Woodbridge Police Department website. There's a What's New button, and I find it very valuable. Thank you.
Are there any other questions?
Bob Hill, Acorn Hill, Road 68. I was looking at the budget, and I know that in going through acquiring the golf course, obviously that was an unplanned event at the time, which is now, based on the recent vote, has basically become an open space purchase unless there's a charrette or whatever to go through the ideas. I know the different boards and commissions met this past year to discuss some of the ideas that may be out there to help with that. I was pleased to see that the budget for this year, having been in the restaurant industry and franchise industry probably for well over 25 years, to see that they're actually at a break even and a modest loss this past year. Pleased to see that movement, and I would expect, based on the professional organization that's in there, that would probably turn a profit. However, I do want to point out, in looking at the capital expenditures, or the debt, our current debt with principal and interest for next year will be $408,000, and that if we had actually considered the proposal that was on the boards at that time, my rough guesstimating here would reduce the overall debt of about $134,000 by the $2.3 million that we would have garnered at that time. In addition, at some point, once those houses were in place, you'd have a run rate of probably $500,000 to $550,000 is the number I heard on those. So, interesting discussion. That I was at Best Buy the other day, and speaking with a woman there who was a former resident of Woodbridge. She lived on Robin Lane. She goes, "We moved." So why is that? She goes, "Couldn't keep up the house anymore, the lawn care and that type of things." "Where'd you go?" "Oh, we went to a condominium, 55 and over." I said, "Really?" I said, "Geez, if we'd had something like that in Woodbridge, would that have worked for you?" And she goes, "Yeah." I said, "You mean like the proposal that was out there with Toll Brothers?" She goes, "That would have been great." I said, "How about if we built that down like in the flats?" She goes, "Oh no, I wouldn't have gone there." So I just share that with you. Hopefully, I think we should need to take hopefully, in due time here, I do think, and
I happen to agree with Chuck that we need to have a plan for the country club, and that I think that having the residents being part of the kind of the blank sheet of paper, coming up with the ideas, and let's come to a consensus on it. That may have been the right solution, but maybe it came at us a little too fast, and so you kind of had the people that thought it came too fast, and the people that were the open space preservers all kind of together there. So hopefully we can revisit that discussion in kind of a bipartisan way, and maybe we can come up with a way. And if it's going to be open space, okay, that's fine. Just recognize we're going to be paying for it. At least it draws some income through the golf course. So thank you for the work that you've done on that.
Thank you. Anything else? Okay, well, just so you understand what happens from here, the Board of Finance is going to be meeting immediately after this meeting to talk about the two changes Tony proposed, which we will certainly put into the budget to lower the mill rate further. And if there's anything else that comes across to us, we'll talk about it. From here, we go to the annual town meeting, which is May 20th on a Monday, at which time we can again lower items if we want to, or restore items up to their original request. So we can still affect changes in this budget right up to the annual town meeting on May 20th. So with that, I'll thank you for coming and look forward to seeing you at the town meeting.